In 2009, Overkill software was assembled from the wreckage of the troubled Swedish studio Grin by brothers Bo and Ulf Andersson, as well as music man Simon Wiklund. In the 12 years before its closure, Grin, which was founded and run by the same brothers, had made a name for itself as a gun-for-hire studio taking on movie license deals, PC ports for titles such as Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare, and even arcade racing games. The studio was especially busy in its final year of operation, pumping out 3 middling games in the rapid-fire span of 5 months. Wanted Weapons of Fate in March, Terminator Salvation in May, and Bionic Commando in July. The finishing blow to the company, however, would happen when Square Enix removed the company from working on an unannounced Final Fantasy title after only 6 months of development due to concerns over quality issues. It seemed that the studio had been mismanaged and taken on more work than they could handle at one time. This mismanagement was hinted at in an interview with a Capcom company president in 2010, who said, "Our experience with Bionic Commando has demonstrated the difficulty of outsourcing the development of new titles to overseas companies." Grin offered a different explanation for the closure, putting the blame square on the publishers. In their statement, they explained, "It is with a heavy heart that we announce today that Grin has been forced to close its doors. Too many publishers have been delaying their payments, causing an unbearable cash flow situation." With Grin now lying lifeless and Overkill C-sectioned from its decaying corpse, the studio set to work on a new project with little excitement from the outside world. At the 2011 E3 Expo, Payday-the-heist was finally unmasked. Fun fact, Chains was white at this time. The game was a very rough around the edges and unpolished low-budget shooter, sharing the same diesel engine of Grin's 2001 racing game Ballistics. Payday-the-heist was visibly janky, had dated graphics, and had poor AI, but the idea behind the game had so much potential, it was worth looking past all these bullet holes. For decades, movies like Heat, Point Break, the Ocean's franchise, and of course, the opening to The Dark Knight had captivated movie audiences with heisting, but the idea of heisting in the gaming medium had yet to be fully realized. Still, it wasn't hard to see gaming audiences were really damn thirsty for a game based on robbing and killing. In Grand Theft Auto 4, for example, the mission 3-Leaf Clover, in which you rob a large bank, was considered the most popular and interesting level in the game. Games focused solely on just co-op were also pretty rare at the time. Most co-op versus AI scenarios were found in side modes in other titles, such as Gears of War Horde mode or COD Zombies. However, Left 4 Dead, which Payday would take heavy inspiration from, had proved that audiences would buy a game focused solely around co-op and nothing else. With Payday-the-heist covering 2 genres audiences were extremely horny for it, crime and co-op, not to mention the gunning down of American police forces. This game was gonna be a hit, baby! With Payday-the-heist being a big success for a small studio, a more polished sequel was on the way. And in 2012, Starbreeze acquired Overkill. Now it's important to remember that Starbreeze had just developed a reboot to the Syndicate franchise for EA, which had been a giant commercial bomb. In consequence to this, they had lost most of their development team to Machine Games, who you know from the Wolfenstein reboots, and the company as a whole was in really bad shape. Their gamble to merge with Overkill paid off because in 2013, before Payday 2 even released, it made back its entire development budget on pre-orders alone. Starbreeze was finally able to post a profit after being well over $14 million in debt before this. Things were finally looking good for the future of both companies. Exactly a year after release, on August 14th, 2014, Overkill's The Walking Dead was announced. Even at the time, there wasn't much hype for this game, and Overkill famously pissed off the Payday 2 player base with its announcement because they made it sound like it was going to be something part of Payday 2, when it really wasn't, although we did get a bat in the game, but that was fucking useless. Overkill's The Walking Dead was described as being similar to Payday-the-heist, but this didn't help matters any as Payday-the-heist was heavily inspired by Left 4 Dead, and at this time zombie games were really reaching a saturation point on the market. The game was delayed at every turn, but was finally able to shamble onto PC in late 2018. The console versions, on the other hand, may never see the light of day, as their release has been postponed and there has been no date given for when they could possibly come out. Now, if you look at this document Overkill included in one of their investor reports, you can see why they're dragging their feet on the console version, because the console version is being published by 505 Games, and 505 Games needs $10 million in recoup rights for the publishing of the game. In addition to this, 505 Games is also getting a rev share of every copy on console sold. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if the game actually sold well, but because it sold so poorly on PC, it definitely makes sense why they just won't even bother, since they'll probably lose money on the console version if they were to finish it. And also, as you can see down here, the console physical sales are almost half that of digital when it comes to revenue, which is crazy. Overkill's The Walking Dead was another big commercial failure for Overkill and Starbreeze, and it didn't review good either. The fact that they had to give away a portion of every sale just for using the now washed up Walking Dead title added the final insult to this train wreck. Of course, this wasn't the first big failure. Let's rewind back in time. In 2017, the Lion Game Lion, dumbest fucking name ever, the devs who handled some Payday 2 DLCs like the bomb heist, released a game called Raid World War II. The game was a World War II reskin of Payday, but was really shit, and it also failed spectacularly to sell anything. While the Lion Game Lion are not Overkill, it does give us yet more evidence that the Payday co-op formula is only successful in Payday and Left 4 Dead. Now let's fast forward to the future. For years now, Overkill has had a game listed on their website called Storm and described as an upcoming sci-fi co-op FPS. The added line of "It's our future" gives one the impression that Overkill was hoping this would be their next big franchise. There's one big problem. Starbreeze has put out a trailer for this game last year, and it seems to be some weird VR esport thing with a co-op mode. Now, VR is not nearly as mainstream at the moment as some had hoped, and probably won't be for a long time. So it's hard to see Storm being a sales success. Of course, the reason it's based on VR is probably because Starbreeze has their own Star VR headset in production, which of course is competing with Facebook, Sony, and HTC. With the company's past failures, it's hard to see them being able to compete with these big giants of the tech industry, and gives us flashbacks to the U-Draw tablet from THQ that put them out of business. Thankfully, a majority stake in Star VR was sold to Acer in late 2017. The story gets even worse. Apparently, Star VR was recently delisted from Taiwan's stock exchange after only 6 months of trading, and is now expected to be disbanded within 3 months unless it gets profitable or is purchased. While Starbreeze did manage to sucker Acer into purchasing 66% of this company to be exact, they still do have a 33% stake in Star VR, so it going under is just another huge failure added to their resume. In addition to Storm, Overkill also has other games in development that aren't Payday 3. In fact, on Starbreeze's website it lists Payday 3 as still in design phase, while a child's game for the Nintendo Switch and a co-op project for Crossfire is in pre-production. Now, if you haven't heard of Crossfire, I don't really blame you. It's an old free-to-play clone of Counter-Strike that is now obsolete because of CSGO becoming free-to-play. So it doesn't seem like that would be a huge success either. Now, the above information could be outdated, and Overkill could have all hands on deck for Payday 3, but if they don't, it seems like a huge oversight from the company in their current financial state. With Starbreeze losing money, its stock tanking, and them filing for reconstruction, the company seems in dire straits. Despite all the effort of trying to put their eggs in other baskets, those eggs have turned out to be rotten. I'm actually impressed that the Payday franchise only makes up 62% of Starbreeze's overall profits. I was honestly expecting it to be closer to 80 or 90%. The company will also, quote, initiate efforts to find partners to finance the whole or parts of the company's operations. Starbreeze assesses that the operational changes will be concluded at the half-year 2019. So the company will probably be at least partially sold to a larger entity at some point this year, if not completely sold. Regardless of when and how Payday 3 is released from custody, I'm convinced Overkill got extremely lucky with this franchise and will never replicate its success. The Payday franchise succeeded despite Overkill and Starbreeze, not because of them. Either way, we've established that the Payday franchise is Overkill and Starbreeze's one big mega hit and their main and crown jewel. So in theory, they should be doing everything in their power to keep its reputation strong and keeping its fan base as large as possible. However, their actions say they don't have these intentions at all. Payday 2 has been released on the Xbox 360 and PS3, the Xbox One and PS4, as well as the Nintendo Switch. Overkill has abandoned the game on all of these platforms. The games are all missing key features, and even when Overkill did bother to update one of the console versions, it took them over a year to do so. Honestly, this is just fucking disgraceful, and I'm sure that anyone who has played Payday on console thinks very, very negatively about the brand and won't be buying it in the future. So they basically fucked over their own key franchise. Oh, the fuck-ups don't end here either. Other examples of Overkill and Starbreeze mismanaging the fuck out of their company. include Overkill spending years developing their Valhalla engine, only to scrap it and switch to Unreal Engine 4, the hiring of high-cost voice actors like John Cleese and this guy, even when it became clear that they should have been trying to save money, and the alleged insider trading. Can't forget the alleged insider trading. Remember that time when they said they weren't going to put microtransactions in Payday 2, and then they put microtransactions in Payday 2?
I remember.
All the evidence we have makes this man who randomly posts videos on the internet conclusively find Overkill and Starbreeze guilty of being extremely incompetent at both making games and running a successful business around them. With the old CEO and last surviving Overkill founder, Bo Anderson, now replaced and being investigated for insider trading on the way out, there is a meager amount of hope for the future of this company. For better or worse, Payday 3 will probably be released under new ownership. Probably for the better, unless it's a really terrible company. But Starbreeze and Overkill were really terrible companies, so it'll have to be an even terribler company. As Overkill and Starbreeze sink ever lower into bankruptcy, two familiar names have co-founded a new studio with a new game. One has to ponder if the cycle is doomed to repeat itself for a third time.